fallacy of global warming, as we all just spent the better part of a week freezing to death. Some unfortunately, I shouldn't say that, but really freezing our butts off here in the Northeast, and 90% of the country was well below temperature. Joining us now is Steve Goreham, Executive Director of the Climate Science Coalition of America and author of The Mad, Mad, Mad World of Climatism. Did I get enough mads in there?
You got them, Steve.
Okay. Well, welcome aboard. I appreciate you coming on. First of all, I want to talk about this report that Senate Democrats are getting ready to get more aggressive on climate change, and they're going to pressure the major TV networks to give the topic greater consideration and attention on the Sunday talking head shows, the Meet the Press and the others.
Yeah, that's what I read also. Yesterday, the bicameral task force on climate change, the combination of House representatives and senators, Barbara Boxer, Representative Waxman, Sheldon Whitehouse, and others, announced their plans for this next year, and one of those is to get more publicity on Sunday talk shows.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they pressure them. I mean, they already have kind of carte blanche with the networks, and of course the media bias that exists, and I'm sure all those networks consider global warming to be real as could be. But that's going to be interesting to see if I think it was this Bernie? Yeah, Bernie Sanders from Vermont.
Right.
And Brian Schatz, Democrat from Hawaii, are gathering their colleagues' signatures on a letter to the networks. So we'll see if that actually comes to fruition, if this kind of pressure will work. But let's talk a little bit about, I mean, you would think that the climate, the global warming people, both the scientists, quote unquote, and the UN people on the panel, and Obama and the Democrats here in this country, and Chris Christie, who believes global warming's man-made, you would think they'd be scrambling right now in the wake of this Arctic freeze that we all had, and of course the ships that were stuck in the ice in the Arctic, for days and days and weeks. But they're full steam ahead.
Yeah, winter's always a bad time for the climatists because we have these storms, and they've said in the past that we're going to see less and less snow. But for example, in Chicago here, we already have 35 inches this year, and our annual average is 31 inches. So it doesn't seem to be a shortage. And it was great to see 2 icebreakers, although we're happy all the people were rescued down in Antarctica. But stuck in the ice, one of those ships, was a part of their mission was to look at how the ice was disappearing in Antarctica. So nature doesn't seem to want to agree with the ideology that man is causing dangerous climate change and global warming.
All right. Well, we have the Senate actively engaged here. Tomorrow, the Senate's going to hear. The Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works is going to hear from the head of the EPA about Obama's plan, where he issued an executive order using the pen that he talked about yesterday to say that any project, local, state, national, going forward, has to take into account the threat of global warming, which is nothing but more regulations and more cost, of course, for any of those projects. And today, the Senate Task Force on Climate Change is interviewing Alaskan natives about shoreline erosion. So, like I said, they're full steam ahead on every level. What is this going to do? When the president ran the first time, he said, by definition, my policies will make the cost of electricity skyrocket. He also said, I don't care about the price of gas going to $7, $8 a gallon as long as it doesn't happen too quickly. I mean, are we headed in that direction with these kinds of regulations that are being imposed by this administration and the EPA?
Unfortunately, we are. The rubber is really meeting the road. The president has not been able to get anything through Congress over the last few years. Cap and trade has failed several times in the last 5 years. And since 2009, he has tasked the Environmental Protection Agency of effectively doing it through regulations rather than through legislation. And right now, the EPA is trying to put regulations on all existing coal-fired power plants in the United States. Coal-fired power plants provide most of, or the largest share of our electricity, almost 40%. They're the lowest cost. And so the EPA is forcing them and saying that you must adopt a thing called carbon capture and storage, which is very expensive, The Department of Energy says that will add 70% to the cost of electricity, even if it can be done and if the carbon can be stored underground, the carbon dioxide stored underground. So it is not a good policy. It's going to be expensive for all Americans, and it's very unfortunate, but that's what they're going to talk about tomorrow in the Senate hearing.
Yeah, well, that's going to be a very interesting hearing, and of course, unfortunately, the Supreme Court has recently given more power to the EPA, for instance, declaring CO2 a greenhouse gas or whatever. So, yeah, it's just not a pretty picture. And, of course, the coal industry is going to be extinct in this country. Folks, the book is The Mad, Mad, Mad World of Climatism, and it's by Steve Goreham, Executive Director of Climate Science Coalition of America. We thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Steve. Always at service.
Thank you. Take care. All right, folks, when we come back in the final hour, we're going to hear from our buddy Charles Hurd of the Washington Times. Ellis Hennigan will be here to discuss various issues as we debate them. And Bill Gertz, a national security columnist, with some really disturbing news that you're going to want to hear about. An arms race with China and Russia and us. Wait till you hear what kind. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.